course. All right, here we
Wish
go.
me luck.
Good luck. You got this.
Bye. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you have chosen this workshop. After seeing the keynote speaker's topic, navigating into the next decade, I decided my thoughts about creating flow in our lives might help us all to prepare to navigate for the future, our future, and the future of occupational therapy. First off, I would like to thank Miota for the care and feeding of me as I embarked on this journey. Anyone who knows me knows that I, of all people, should not be allowed to do anything on a computer, let alone a virtual presentation. Special thanks to Amy. You are a gift to me and to Miota. As an OT and a life coach, I am energized by helping my OT comrades flourish. I'm excited to share some research techniques, methods, and strategies that focus on you, the OT practitioner. I believe that great OT practice begins with self. Self-understanding and therapeutic use of self are the #1 tools in successful interventions. They are foundational to building a therapeutic relationship, which is key to building trust, and your client and yourself are a team. And so if as individuals we're not balanced and we're not well, then as professionals we are limited. If we cannot navigate, read the map, plot the course, follow the route, traverse the hazards in our own lives, how can we guide others in doing so? For occupational therapy to thrive as a profession, I believe that we must first begin to truly care for ourselves and to feed ourselves. These are humble words, but they have much meaning. It sounds so simple. It is not always. We are givers. We care and feed for others. But as things change, we might need to change. And change is about gaining perspective and finding the courage to begin. So far, the year 2020 has been anything but typical. Our regular routines, our distinctive manners of engaging, our mundane habits and customs change seemingly overnight. Every day seems uncharacteristic and at the same time identical to the day before. This has created for some confusion, fear, anxiety, fatigue, and overwhelm, a general sense that all is out of control. But for others, this overnight change has been welcomed. It has provided time and space to breathe, create new priorities, and ask valuable questions of ourselves. In these past 8 months, we have learned how to do many things differently. We have adapted, we have acclimated, and we have adjusted. We have done things we never thought we could do. We have become more flexible. Gumby could do no better. Life is not always what we expect, and these are unprecedented times. We cannot control the pandemic nor the surrounding chaos, but we are facing, but we can control how we respond to the unexpected. This is our choice. So let's get started. What if you could feel more energized, more emboldened, more centered, more contented, even happier? And you created all these things for yourself. Learning about flow and how to create flow might help. Flow tools can help us care deeply for ourselves and feed ourselves goodness. Goodness like reviewing our belief systems, developing new skills, paying attention to what makes us happy, reconnecting with our tribe, refinding lost interests, lost hobbies, lost activities, and using our purpose-driven, idiosyncratic strengths and our creativity to find flow every day. In doing so, we can continue to be our best selves each day and the best occupational therapy practitioners we can be. So let's begin with a brief activity to clarify the idea of habit of mind, so we are all focused on the same page as we begin. Fold your hands like so. Notice your hands. Take a look at them. Now switch how they're folded to the other side so that essentially your thumb and your fingers are in the other direction. Like, it's so hard for me. Like this. So I just told you this is hard for me. Was it hard for you? Did you need to slow down and notice, or was it easy to change this natural inclination or this natural habit? I am doing this because I want you to remember it throughout the day, throughout tomorrow, and each day you have a problem to solve. Take notice, take a moment, set a goal, focus on it, and do it. By the end of this presentation, you will have gathered a few ideas, some tools, several reasons, I hope, to notice and explore your beliefs, strengths, creativity, goals, interests, and choices. By the end, I hope you will have a better understanding of the power of flow, what elements are crucial to the flow experience, and how to begin to create flow in your life. After this presentation, all you need to do is take the challenge. Commit, be disciplined, and trust the process. And so, what would you say to your client, no matter setting, about accepting a challenge to meet their goal? Build new routines, habits, and/or roles, take new risks, etc. What would you begin with to help them get started? Consider your first step. That's what you need to do for yourself now. Imagine what your best life will look like. Take a first step and live occupational therapy out loud. Flow. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi talks about flow. He's the author of several books on flow. And these are some of his thoughts. Flow, according to Csikszentmihalyi, is a perfect state of balance between skill and challenge. Flow is an optimal experience, a deep, genuine, satisfying consciousness. During flow, people typically experience deep enjoyment, creativity, and total involvement. Exceptional moments of complete immersion are what Csikszentmihalyi has called the flow experience. Flow, I'm going backward. Flow is subjective. It comes from within. The metaphor of flow is one that many people have used to describe the sense of effortless action they feel in moments of, I have to move myself, in moments of finding themselves in the best places in their lives. Athletes refer to it as being in the zone. Artists and musicians think of it as aesthetic rapture. And sometimes mystics will see it as being in ecstasy. Those are their comments. Flow is full involvement. Full involvement of flow, rather than happiness, is truly the meaning of excellence in life. Oh, shoot. We can be happy experiencing the passive pleasures of resting or of watching TV, a warm bath, or a beautiful day, or the satisfaction of a tranquil moment with a friend or a lover. But this kind of happiness is dependent on favorable external circumstances. The 8 elements of flow. They're all equal. On this slide, they don't look equal, but they are all equal. Number 1 is having clarity of goals. Clarity of goals, it talks about that in every step and flow, we always know what needs to be done. So for example, a musician knows what notes to play next. It's kind of automatic. That's the number one element. Number two, having useful, direct, and immediate feedback. As an occupational therapy practitioner, we understand and we know about feedback and how important immediate feedback is for our clients. Immediate feedback in a flow experience means that we know what we're doing well, and we know we're having a flow experience. It feels good. We're doing it well. Number three is the activity demands closely match your skill set, making the challenge a just right fit. I always use the word just right because it is subjective and we all get to see it differently. But in terms of challenges and skills, we understand as occupational therapy practitioners that there is a balance between a challenge and a skill. And it can't be too great, or we get overwhelmed and bored, or we get anxious. And it can't be too low because that's when we do get bored. And we also get anxious. We don't know how to fill in the blanks sometimes. Number four is the ability to focus. There is an author, his name is Cal Newport. He wrote a book called Deep Work. Deep work is about many things, but one of my takeaways is that we need to be able to set up an opportunity to focus. Some of us can focus with a lot of noise. Some of us can focus with little noise. We need to be able to access full concentration in order to be in a flow moment. No outside distractions. We're not talking all day. Sometimes we start with moments. When you're in full concentration in the moment focus, means again that the skill level and the challenge degree are a perfect match. An example is a rock climber can't get swept away by thinking about lunch or a situation at work or home when they're right at the precipice of a mountain. They have to be fully engaged in that moment. Flow supports the idea that being in the moment really matters. Number five, moving into that, operating in the present moment. In flow, when you're in a flow state, we are only aware of the now. Other dimensions are excluded. Other situations are excluded. We are using mindfulness, and that's where we stay. Elements 4 and 5 decrease the opportunity for fear and anxiety to sneak in so we can feel good about what we've done or what we're doing, not feel like we're wasting time, not feel like we're not fulfilling a goal, a big goal. Number 6, feeling of self-control. If you are feeling in control of yourself, you are not feeling as though you need to worry or that you are failing. You are in control. There is no split in terms of what needs to be done and what we did or what we do. We feel good about what we do. Number 7, self-consciousness. Self-consciousness disappears. You have no sense of what others may think about you. So we're not monitoring how we appear to others. We are just very involved in what it is we're doing. There's not a sense of ego. You're just doing. And doing because it brings you great pleasure. It brings you great energy. And 8, 8 is an altered perception of time or a sense of transcendence. Time doesn't exist in flow. It really is just what flow looks like. A lot of my photos are about flow. They're about water. Water doesn't have a beginning or an end. So we're not looking at the clock. We're not paying attention to how much we've gotten done. We're just in that moment. There's two words just to share. Right now I'm going to share them briefly, and then I'm going to look into them. There's a word that Csikszentmihalyi uses that talks about autotelic activities. It's a Greek word for something that is an end in itself, worth it just for its own sake. So the goal in flow is the goals of what you need to do are clear because you set them, but they are not like the goals that we necessarily have at work when somebody else is telling us what our goals are. It's very much like the therapeutic relationship where the client is setting the goals. We want our clients to be in flow. We need to understand flow and be in flow. When an activity is simply getting done because we want to get it out of the way so we can get to the next goal, Csikszentmihalyi talks about that as being an exotelic goal. So we have auto and we have exo, within, without, or from without. Those are the 8 elements needed to create flow. I thought this was a great picture of flow. Flow tends to occur when a person faces a clear set of goals that require fitting responses. For example, it is easy to enter into a flow with activities such as chess, golf, baking, or playing a musical instrument because they have very clear rules and clear goals within the context of what they are. And that makes it possible for each player, each chef, each artist to act without questioning what should be done and how it should be done. Do you have goals at work and at home? And do they feel like that's what we're talking about? Goals are important. Flow goals can help you be energized, not drained, because they're the just right fit. While engaging in certain activities that promote flow, each participant lives in an isolated universe where everything is somewhat black and white. You do this or you do this. The same clarity of goals may be present if you perform a religious ritual, if you're a juggler, if you're a weaver, if you're knitting, if you're painting. I get a lot of flow when I'm painting, and I don't mean artistic painting. I mean walls, houses, things like that. You can find flow in writing a computer program. You can find flow in climbing a mountain or performing occupational therapy. A lot of Csikszentmihalyi's information is on how surgeons find flow in their work. There are ways of doing things. All of these, there are certain ways of doing what they do. All of these special activities. In contrast to life, these flow activities allow a person to focus on goals that are clear and compatible and provide immediate feedback. Flow also happens when a person's skills are fully involved in overcoming a challenge that is just about manageable, so it acts as a magnet for learning new skills and increasing challenges. If our challenges are too low, you can get your flow back by increasing the challenges. If the challenges are too great, you can return to the flow state by learning new skills. Are there areas in your life where your demands, where the demands on you or upon you are too great or too small? Sometimes I think that once we learn a certain skill set, we just keep using that skill set. And sometimes it doesn't have as much meaning to us as it used to have when we were learning it. And if you look at life and we look at growing all the time, I think it's important to look at these flow states and go, this will fully engage me. I'm not going to do it on autopilot. Flow is not about autopilot. Csikszentmihalyi notes that even our quality of life is based on experiencing daily flow and daily flow activities. My question to you is, have you ever gotten involved in something so deeply that nothing else seemed to matter and that you lost track of time? If you have experienced flow. There are, going back to the autotelic personality, or the autotelic activities, there are people who Csikszentmihalyi suggests are autotelic personalities. An autotelic personality is someone who can easily get to flow experiences or finds flow in almost all the things they do. An autotelic personality is open to a great number of experiences and derives pleasure from all or most occupations, activities, and is in complete harmony with themselves. Sounds like a dream, right? Autotelic activity is activity that you do for sheer enjoyment of the activity itself. Nobody's giving you anything. There's not an expectation. It is clearly for the pleasure of the activity. Exotelic activity is activity you do in order to get some kind of an external reward. Maybe at work, maybe a bonus. At your home, maybe it's other people thanking you. Boredom, I think I referred to this before. Usually if people are bored, that means that there's not enough of a challenge in their life or in their activity. Burnout typically is that there's just too much challenge. Can you have boredom and burnout at the same time? I think so. When you have too much challenge, anxiety and stress is your body's response. There's a term called psychic entropy, which is a state of mind where your thoughts can't flow because they're stuck. You're stuck in the same state of thought, like a merry-go-round. Rumination is an example of psychic entropy. You don't go anywhere. You just spin. So it doesn't help you grow. It doesn't help you be happy. It doesn't help you be creative. All right. I would like to ask if you have any questions. So if you do, write them down when you have them. We'll talk about them at some point in time if you want to give me a call. I'm going to move on. You know a little bit about flow. I'm going to move on to the idea of signature strengths. Signature strengths, as you can see, come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. There are signature strengths comes out of the original work out of positive psychology and Martin Seligman. Two gentlemen wrote a book called Know Your Strengths. The Power of Character Strengths is the name of the book. I have written down a few slides just to tell you a little bit about how I think that strengths can support flow. The three things that I want you to focus on is thinking about virtues and strengths and signature strengths. strengths. We're going to go on a couple slides. And at the bottom of this slide, if you want to go online for free, you can go to the Values in Action Institute's website, and you can do an assessment of what are your character strengths. It's really fun to do. It's a very interesting. I've done it, and it helped me to understand that I really did know what my strengths were. I just didn't always identify them as being strengths. They were just something that I had, something about me. So, have you ever wondered about strengths and virtues? We talk about strengths and we talk about virtues. The Values Institute discusses that talks about there are 24 distinct groups of strengths, which we all have in varying degrees. So you have all 24, but they're not all on the same quantity or quality level or quantity level. In the studies that they're doing, each strength is associated with 6 fundamental virtues. The 6 fundamental virtues are on the right side of this screen: wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperament, and transcendence. Just for an example, the red words on the left side, curiosity is a strength that fits under the wisdom virtue. Honesty sits under the courage virtue. Kindness sits under the humanity virtue. Teamwork sits under the justice virtue. Prudence sits under the temperament virtue, and humor sits under the transcendence virtue. I wanted to just share with you my strengths to sort of prod you to maybe go on and do this. They're really kind of fun to know. My number, I'm just giving you, I think on the slide before, I talked about signature strengths. So we all have 24, all 24, but there are maybe about the top 5, 3 to 5, which are your, what he calls, or what the authors call, and what Seligman called, the signature strengths. These are your strongest strengths. My number 1 strength is creativity, which sits under the wisdom virtue. And creativity is thinking of novel and productive ways to conceptualize and do things. It includes artistic achievement, but is not limited to it. It is really how you look at problems. For me, it's how I can look at a problem, and it's my own way of figuring it out. Sometimes that's been a helpful thing to me. Sometimes it's not been a helpful thing for me. But as I get older, I understand that a lot of what I do comes out of my sense of creativity. My second signature strength is appreciation of beauty and excellence, which is under the transcendence virtue. My third is leadership, and it fits under the justice virtue. My fourth is honesty. It sits under the courage virtue. And my fifth is spirituality, which fits under the transcendence virtue. So I just share that with you because I think it can help you understand your strengths, and really your signature strengths can help you understand how you can build a flow activity into your life. And I want you to understand that flow activities are not necessarily an extra thing you're doing. It's the way that you go about doing what you're doing. And I believe that your strengths can help you. I'm going to move on to something else that I think helps a lot with flow, and it is creativity. Creativity, I don't know, it's hard to even find a meaning for creativity. And creativity means a lot of things. It's important to this discussion because it is connected to building flow experiences, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to go back for just one moment. What I want you to do, and I don't think we have time to do it today, but I would like you to try it, or at least just think about it as you're watching this. We'll take a few minutes to do it. This is a Pablo Picasso drawing I'm going to show you. It needs to stay in the position that it is in order to work how I would like to share the creativity and flow concept with you. So I'm going to now go back to that. Okay. Do you see on the left side, it says top of page? That means top. You don't turn this around. Draw the man as the picture is presented on the slide. Start at the top. I know it's hard because they're saying that's not the top. It's not usual. It's not the way I usually do things. Do not turn your drawing around until you have finished the drawing. When you finish the drawing, just experience it and look at it. Don't judge it. You have just experienced how to break out of a structured mode of thinking. Take a moment, consider your thoughts, and keep this also in mind, just like this activity, as we continue on. Doing this workshop in the way that is all virtual has really stretched my ability to create activities that can bring a point home that would work on a screen. So it's been a really good learning experience. Okay. Creativity is a matching of skills and challenges. It is an art and a science. I think that occupational therapy, I would say, is an art and a science. The art takes care of itself in terms of the humanness, and we have a strong science behind what we do. Creativity is innate. It is within us. We all have creativity within us. I hear a lot of adults in my practice talk about, I'm not creative. I'm just not creative. I can't do that. Everyone is creative. Somewhere along the line, we shut it down. Creativity can help us avoid getting stuck. That's what the two activities that I've shared so far, I hope can help you with, is that sometimes it's important, and I know we've all learned that this past 8 months, we've got to look at things differently. We can't look at the same thing with the same answers because we're going to get the same result. Our culture does not place a high premium on creativity. But a lot of what I've been reading since April demonstrates that scientists are extremely creative people. Science measures technique and success a little differently in, let's say, medicine. But if you read about scientists and great, for example, doctors and surgeons and physicists, they are also artists in their own right. So I think occupational therapy fits there. And I think it's important going forward in the future is to acknowledge that and we're unique. The flow of creativity. Creativity is thinking of novel ways to conceptualize a way to do things, envisioning the possibilities, imagining solutions and challenges. It is not the hope of achieving fame or making money that drives them. This is a quote of one of the authors I wrote or I read. Rather, it is the opportunity to do the work they are doing. I think that's part of what we do. We're not looking for fame. We're not looking just to make money. There's a lot of ways to make money. There's also a lot of ways to help people. We do it because we love it. Creative persons different from one another, but in one respect, they are unanimous. They all love what they do. Catherine Meyer Graham, an American publisher of the Washington Post from 1963 to 1991. Her family actually owned the Washington Post. Had a quote, which I had on my office door for many years, that said, "To love what you do and feel that it matters. How could anything be more fun?" If you want to use her quote, go for it. To me, it's enriching. Because life should be fun. Life shouldn't be hard. Even though life is challenging, it's all in our perspective. This is my little breather slide. Another picture of flow. We're going to lead into occupational therapy and flow. The value of self-care is at the core of occupational therapy's philosophy. This is a picture of Adolf Meyer. Meyer noted that just as our heart beats in a rhythm, so do we respond to the greater rhythms of the day and night, sleeping and waking, and hunger and satiation, and all centered on the fundamental activities of human life: work and play and rest and sleep, balance and flow. These ideas remain as touchstones of occupational therapy thought and practice to this day. As occupational therapy practitioners, but more so as human beings, we do understand the balance that people need. We don't, I think, always keep in touch with the ideas that we're people too, and we can use occupational therapy in terms of its beginnings, its philosophy in our daily lives. And flow has been relevant in OT for decades. Mary Riley, in her 1961 Eleanor Clark Slagle lecture, says, "Man, through the use of his hands, as they are energized by mind and will, can influence the state of his own health." I take that as flow. Doris Pierce, the author of Occupation by Design, Building Therapeutic Power, brings flow into focus in an article published with Dana Howell on the restorative dimension of occupation in the Journal of Occupational Science from 2000. And in the article, it discusses the occupational design process and the importance of the elements necessary for therapeutic power in OT: appeal, intactness, and accuracy. I think appeal, intactness, and accuracy speak to me as also embedded in the elements of flow. In 1999 to 2000, a gentleman by the name of Michael Iwama, a PhD, authored the Kawa model. The key features of the model, as you know, include water, river sidewall, and bottom, and rocks, and driftwood, and space between obstructions. Here, water represents a client's life flow. The structure of the river is used as a metaphor for the energy of life or life flow. I'm going to go back for just one moment. So beginning with Adolph Meyer to Mary Riley to Doris Pierce, and recently to Michael Iwama, flow has had a place in the heartbeat of occupational therapy. Not going to spend a lot of time just because of time to talk about mindfulness connected to flow, but I want to put these slides in because I think that it's ever present. Just a slide question to you, is mindfulness connected to flow? Absolutely. We are paying attention. We are slowing down our thinking. We are not allowing ourselves to be distracted. And then I just put in a second slide. I'm not going to read it right now. The difference between mindfulness and mindlessness. So you can read that, both definitions and ideas. See what you think and see where you fit. At the bottom of mindfulness, there are the three aspects of mindfulness that, again, I think are connected in many ways to the elements of flow, or are needed in the elements of flow. Okay. All right. Okay, so it's your turn. I want to just guide you through a little bit of how do you make flow a part of your life. Want you to, we're not going to do it now, but I want you to come back to this slide with a piece of paper. And I want you to go back to slide, I believe it's slide number 7, where I give you, it's the Venn diagram of flow elements. And I want you to take each one, 1 through 8, and I want you to create an optimal flow experience for yourself. I want you to read the clarity of goals, useful, direct, and immediate feedback, the activity demands that closely match your skill set that make the challenge a just right fit for you, the ability to focus your work, have full concentration with no outside distractions. How can you operate in the present moment and having that feeling of self-control and belief that you are in charge of your life, that there is no worry of failure. You cannot fail if you are in charge of your choices. Self-consciousness that disappears with no sense of worrying about what other people think about you, an altered perception of time and a sense of transcendence. That is, I think, good work. It may be deep work for you. Deep work meaning, again, setting aside the time to do it, and how everybody sets aside time it's all uniquely different. So this is your reminder slide that you are your own case study. And I challenge you to take an opportunity to create flow in your life. This is one of my favorite slides because it's creative, but it's silly and it's fun, and it made me giggle when I saw it. So when you're beginning any process, I believe the best way to begin is small. Start small, be consistent, and have fun. Those are the things about learning that are important to remember. Even if somebody doesn't tell you that, know that for yourself. I thank you so much for joining me today. May you find flow. May we all flow. May our lives be enriched, and may OT thrive. Take care and feed yourself with goodness. Your family, your clients, your friends, and your colleagues, and your professional life and your profession will thrive as you do. Thank you very much. I can be contacted with questions or comments or feedback about my presentation today. I can be reached at dsdotcoach@gmail.com. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.